So we're here today really to talk to people about encrypted storage, secure storage. As we moved out of the pandemic and we found more and more people working from home, there was a huge uptake in leveraging cloud infrastructure for speed of access to market, etc., etc. So we come from a slightly different angle. It says that it's fine, if you're going to put it in the cloud, there's certain benefits to that we all understand, but also there are some risks that you take when you go into the cloud in terms of you give up an element of control. The phrase is that your data is on somebody else's computer, but only just that. You have to trust their processes, their policies, their hiring policies, etc. So when we talk about backup and recovery, for example, we talk about the 3-2-1 rule. So have at least 3 copies of data on at least 2 different types of media, with at least 1 copy offline, and we'd also say encrypted and off-site. So if one of your media is the cloud, then we would recommend that you have some local capability as well, because we talked about giving up a bit of control with your data in the cloud. So what we provide is, as I said before, hardware encrypted data storage. So when we talk about 3-2-1 and we talk about remote working, we kind of would broaden that out, because 3-2-1 was a rule that worked when everybody was in the office, a centralized kind of client-server environment, but now laptops, desktops, and therefore data is starting to move outside of the corporate boundary. And we would argue that you should give your remote workers, some local capability to back up and store their data for recovery in the event of any issues. And because the nature and the requirements of backup has changed, so when I first started working, it was all about physical disruption. Is the server on fire? Is somebody dug through the mains cable, etc.? But now we also have to protect against virtual attacks, so malware, ransomware, etc. So if you're able to give your remote workers a local capability where they can back up their data, remove the device so it's offline, therefore these virtual attacks can't get to it, it's air-gapped, and of course the nature of the data is going to be sensitive, whether it be corporately sensitive or personally identifiable information that would require encryption to comply with data compliance rules, then you give them an encrypted device to cover that use case. We fully understand why people would leverage the cloud for their application and their data storage for all the reasons that we talked about before. But by way of example, there was a very large cloud service provider in France, OVH, and they host a lot of French government applications and departments. They unfortunately had a fire in their primary data center. But they also offered a secondary backup high availability configuration. Unfortunately, that secondary data store was in the same building as the primary data store, so everything went up in flames. That caused a huge problem for the French government departments. It took them a few weeks to get back online, and in fact one company, a games company, lost their data altogether, never came back as an organization. So this is why we talk about the 3-2-1. So if one of your copies of data, or even your 2 copies of data in the cloud, the 3rd copy needs to be somewhere else in the case of these events. And likewise, if one of your media is a cloud, your second media be something else. And this is why we provide and recommend local data storage services.